it is very important to note that Mnangagwa is the most, is most Zimbabwean feeling inside the moment as I speak. Especially, he doesn't trust people around him, especially individuals like George Charamba, specifically George Charamba. I think we may hear that he has been sacked by Mnangagwa, because even in today's proceedings, we hear that when it was a secret meeting between Zwikanandas, that is Tungwarara, Takurei, and Wikinan Chivayo, as well as Ramaphosa and Mnangagwa. We hear that George Charamba was excluded from that particular meeting. And why is Mnangagwa excluding George Charamba? George Charamba is the man who is in trouble at the moment from Mnangagwa, although he has tried to actually fight against this, but it's quite clear that the Precap farm bedroom no longer trusts the man. Greetings and welcome to your lovely channel, the Tonipani Global News. If you're watching us for the very first time, please do remember to press the red or black subscribe button so that next time when we beam live, you become the very first one to watch us. So, one thing for sure about Mnangagwa is that he's vulnerable, and people who are very close to him, most of them, they are not working with him. He thought that it was the wife of retired General Chwenga who was leaking the information to retired General Chwenga. They actually removed the wife of retired General Chwenga, but still information continues to leak. And even you see, the visit of the South African president was meant to be private. The location was private. There were no protocols. He was not welcomed like how a president should be welcomed. But somehow, these details were leaked. When we slept last night, already we slept knowing that Cyril Ramaphosa was heading to Zimbabwe, and he was going to the Precap farm of Mnangagwa, and it was not an official state visit. Rather, it was a private meeting, and indeed it looked so private. And we have heard, obviously, the details. I will not speak more about that. But what I want to underscore is that there is high level of security on Mnangagwa, and he doesn't know who exactly is with him and who exactly is not with him, because I can tell you now the details of the meetings. We have all the details. We will have more very soon, the details of why Cyril Ramaphosa went to the Precap farm. Of course, it continues to come in bits and pieces, but it gives us already a clear picture of what was happening at the Precap farm. Now, George Charamba is the presidential spokesperson. He is supposed to be in each and every meeting of Mnangagwa, but he was excluded in a very private meeting. He works at the State House, by the way. He is part of the individuals who releases government communications. He is supposed to defend and communicate on behalf of the government of Mnangagwa. But guess what? He is being excluded. Not only this, remember, so what happened today is a clear testimony. I've always told people that when Themba Mliswa speaks, people should listen to Themba Mliswa. Themba Mliswa spoke about this. He has been attacking George Charamba. At one point, George Charamba even wanted to organize the match. I don't know how it ended. And Themba Mliswa was so keen also in actually giving us content in that regard. But unfortunately, they promised each other and ended there. You see, I never knew that George Charamba is an emotional being. At one point, he actually lashed out. And I was like, in a public platform such as X, and even blocked. I cannot comment on his account, Jamanda. Yes, I cannot comment on that particular account because he blocked me to actually comment on him. So George Charamba appears to be really the target. They are thinking, they are assuming that he is the man that is actually giving the Chiwenga faction information, and that is why he was excluded. But I'm very sure that even what was discussed behind the secret corridors, we will hear exactly what was discussed, the details, even if George Charamba was actually excluded. That's the good thing about it. And also, what does this show us? It shows us that the intelligence of the Chiwenga faction, as I keep on mentioning, is very, very solid. Now, look, social media is already abuzz in Zimbabwe regarding the precable visit by actually Cyril Ramaphosa, and also the details are already starting to trickle out in actually a very, very and we expect more, but maybe most probably if more comes, I will deal with that next the next day, because I'm feeling tired. I wanted to read something that I got it from another publication. Let me just quickly go there and see whether I can. Is it it's called, all right, let me go. I saw they were posting a lot of things here. I should actually go there. I'm almost there. Thank you for your patience. You people, you are patient. Right, a lot of things they're being posted here. Let me check. All right. So I'm at the new development. The presidency of South Africa has decided to issue a statement. They say His Excellency at Cyril Ramaphosa earlier today undertook a working visit to the Republic of Zimbabwe for an engagement with his Zimbabwean counterpart, His Excellency Emmerson Mnangagwa, to discuss issues of mutual and bilateral interest. South Africa and Zimbabwe maintain a historical, political, and dynamic trade relationship. In 2025, South Africa exports to Zimbabwe totaled to about 4.3 billion, with agricultural products and machinery dominating the majority of traded goods. Okay, they've said so. Now I wanted to read something. South African President Ramaphosa trip to Zimbabwe was not announced by either government. In attempts to explain it after the curious event, the South African president says it was a working visit to discuss issues of mutual and bilateral interest. Zimbabwe state broadcaster described it as a private visit. Whatever it was, Ramaphosa appears to have had an urgent message to deliver to Harare around Mnangagwa's succession and his ZANU-PF party's plans to amend the constitution and extend his term beyond constitutional limits. That is another view. But looking at the pictures from the meeting, it doesn't say so. Millionaire tenderpreneur Wicknell Chivayo, Paul Tungwarara, and Takurei, all increasingly influential in Zimbabwe's political direction, were present in a private meeting between South African President Cyril Ramaphosa and President Emmerson Mnangagwa today. Ramaphosa made an unannounced trip to Zimbabwe for what the South African government now says was an engagement on issues of mutual interest. Vice President Constantino Chiwenga has accused Takurei and Chivayo of capturing the state. A plan to amend the constitution to extend Mnangagwa's term, opposed by Chiwenga, is threatening to cause a rupture in ZANU-PF, which could explain Ramaphosa's trip to Mnangagwa's Kwekwe Precable farm. So there are visuals also, I think, that have been spreaded by Barakashis of Ramaphosa making this visit. Thank you very much for watching us. If you are watching us for the very first time, please do remember to press the red or black subscribe button so that next time when we beam live, you become the very first one to watch us. You can financially support this channel by pressing the join button and be part of our members who are the heartbeat of this channel. You can equally do so by pressing the thanks button and send us stars.